Still, there's no denying that in some sense, I feel better, air quotes. And with that comes at once a sort of shame and a feeling that one is under a sort of obligation to cherish and foment and prolong one's unhappiness. This is one of the biggest myths in our society, right? That you should be sad forever. Hi, my name is Sue Deagle. I'm the author of Do Loss, A New Way to Move Through Change, memoir and companion for our journeys through our toughest times of loss, and The Luminist, a weekly Substack. And I talk about loss, vibrant living, and everyday life. I'm starting this series because I hope that the books that helped me through my many losses and one catastrophic loss can help you do the same thing or help people that you are consoling. Work their way through the journey too. So we already did one volume in what I like to group as the classics. We did The Year of Magical Thinking with Joan Didion. That's the original OG loss memoir, you would say. And today we are on to A Grief Observed by C.S. Lewis. Again, another classic of the genre. And you might think to yourself, what does an Oxford Don who invented Narnia have to do with me and my journey through loss? But this very tiny little tome is gold. So there's so much in it that helps you understand this incredibly intellectual man's view of losing his partner. He was married late in life to an American and she died of cancer. They only had their relationship for a few years. You can see the more of a story of this, Anthony Hopkins and Deborah Winger in the movie Shadowlands. But this is his kind of seminal memoir that he wrote in the days after her death, days and months. So there are, you can see here, sticky noted it. And I read this book shortly after my husband Mike died in 2016. So probably within the 6 to 8 weeks after. This your brain is ready for and can handle. You're not going to absorb all of it then. And so rereading it later is also a really great idea. So just a couple of lines from this that reflect how our brains are working after a devastating loss, like the loss of a partner or a loss of someone that you love in your life. They tell me H, that's what he refers to his wife that way. They tell me H is happy now. They tell me she is at peace. What makes them so sure of this? So even with his Christian faith, he still was questioning, which I think just happens to all of us during that time. And this really made me think of my daughter, who was 11 at the time of my husband's passing. And she said to me, why does everybody say daddy's happy, happy in heaven? Like sometimes out of the mouths of babes, you understand like how that sentence actually sounds to us. And then towards the end of the book, when he's starting to kind of have his synapses working a little bit better, and time passes, right? He says, still, there's no denying that in some sense, I feel better, air quotes. And with that comes at once a sort of shame and a feeling that one is under a sort of obligation to cherish and foment and prolong one's unhappiness. This is one of the biggest myths in our society, right? That you should be sad forever. And here we have C.S. Lewis kind of questioning that. And so couldn't recommend it enough. Great to give to people right after their losses too. You don't have to be a fan of Narnia. You don't have to be a Christian. You just have to be someone who wants to understand the human condition to get something out of A Grief Observed.